Hi, I'm Joe Hankins with the Absolute Alpine. I'm here at Summit Canyon Mountaineering in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and I'd like to go over how to pack a pack. It may seem like a pretty basic concept, and it is, but the ideas behind it can be quite strategic, and I'm hoping that this sheds some light for you guys into how to go about packing your own packs to carry them most efficiently. Today I'm using the Deuter Expedition 45 plus 10. So it can be a 55-liter pack. And I would use a pack like this for maybe a single 1 or 2 night trip. In terms of packing the pack, there's a couple things you want to start with that are really going to help you get to where you need to be. And that's going to be by expanding all these compression straps along the sides of your pack and potentially along the bottom as well if it's a bigger pack. On this one, I'm just going to simply unclip them. What this allows is the pack to expand to its maximum volume and really gives you the best space to work with to fit all your necessary items in there. So let's go ahead and start with our lighter items at the bottom, as well as items that we don't need to access throughout the day. So I can't really see myself leaving from camp and in 5 or 10 minutes needing to get to my tent. So let's go ahead and put that at the bottom. This is the Black Diamond First Light. I've switched out the stuff sack because it's a little bit more durable. And when I set this in here, I want this thing laying horizontal in the bottom of the pack. So right now, my tent is like that. It's not like this. And what that does, I really have the chance to push that down. If it's a bigger tent, sometimes the strategy is to not even use the stuff sack. And I can get to that later, but for this situation, we will. So I go ahead and I put my tent in. Another item that's extremely light and something I'm not going to need to access throughout the day is going to be my sleeping pad and my sleeping bag. And so when I'm choosing which one of these to pack next, in my mind, I'm thinking about what the surface of the bottom of my backpack is going to come in contact with, and whether that needs to be a weather or abrasive resistant area. And for me personally, I'd rather have a bit of a damp sleeping bag than a popped sleeping pad. So I'm going to go ahead and put my sleeping bag in, and that's going to sit in front of the tent, also horizontal, oriented the same way. And I'm just going to shove that down at the very bottom. And you really want to make sure that all this dead space is filled. If you can get your hands in there, that's going to be potential packing area for clothing or lighter layers. That's in there pretty good. So then I'm going to go ahead and stick in my sleeping pad. And that, for me, is going to go right up against my back. So against this part of the pack, right on top of the tent. And what that's going to do is it's in a pretty protective area. It's not on the outside of the backpack to where I could potentially set the pack down on a sharp rock or a thorn or something and get that punctured. So that goes right up against my pack. Again, depending on the terrain I'm moving through, I'm most likely not going to be able to need to get to my stove. So I'm going to go ahead and pack that. This is a very basic canister stove. This is the MSR reactor. There's a lot of models out there of this. The Jetboil type stove. I think Primus has one called the LTE Lite. And essentially they're the same type of stoves, really good for boil-only applications, or primarily a boil-only type stove. They run off this isobutane. I'm going to go ahead and set that inside the stove container. I can put the burner application in there as well, my lighter. So I've got that packed pretty nice into a compact compartment there. I'm going to go ahead and set this also horizontal within my pack, so it's laying right here. You can kind of see it there a bit. And if you're really tight on space, you can stand that up as well. So continuing on down the line, I've got my sleeping bag, my tent, and my sleeping pad. So essentially my entire sleep system is at the bottom of the pack and packed in an orientation to where hopefully my bag is going to stay dry and my pad is going to stay without holes. Depending on where I'm traveling, I may not need to get to my harness right away, or I could potentially be wearing it. For this instance, let's just go and say I'm not going to need to get to it. I'm going to pack that right next to the stove and fill this big gap right in here. Again, another pretty lightweight item, and if I had to get to it as I'm moving, it's not going to be extremely buried. So if you can think of the pack as being in thirds, we've essentially covered the bottom third, which is our lighter sleeping systems, things that we don't need to access throughout the day. Moving up from there, I'm going to really prioritize the middle third of my pack for my heavier items. For me, a lot of this is going to be my food. It's relatively dense. Typically, some of the heaviest things that I carry, aside from climbing hardware, which I would also include in this same middle third, as well as other things, maybe warmer layers that I'm not going to need to access or that I don't think I'll need. Potentially that pair of rain pants or Gore-Tex pants, if it's a nice day, can go in this section where, again, you probably won't need to get to it. So that middle third is really going to be reserved for dense, heavier items. So I'm going to go ahead and take my climbing hardware. This is just a light Alpine kit, a couple draws, a couple cams. Again, not a full rack. I'm going to lay that in there. And I'm going to find that my food is going to get in that same section as well. And what that's really going to allow me to do is carry the heaviest items that I have with me in that middle third of my pack, which is really going to balance the weight well. And I'm going to get that food similar to my sleeping pad sitting right up against the back of my backpack. And that way a lot of the weight is closer to my body as opposed to further out. And this is an area that can really kind of make or break the packing process, I think. A lot of times I see people taking this middle third of the pack all the way up to the extended brain and realizing like, okay, well I can put my water bottle and other things in the brain itself, and then the pack is just so top heavy and really exhausting to carry. So be mindful as you're doing this that this is staying within that middle third. I could squeeze some layers in. I've got some dead space on the sides. You know, I could potentially put a rain jacket right here, something I could easily access. And then moving up from there, I want to consider the top third as an area of the pack that I want to access pretty regularly, potentially every stop. So that could be my next layer up, maybe my fleece here. I'm going to keep my medical kit up near the top. I'm going to keep my water bottle and any snacks up near the top of my pack. If you are traveling in the backcountry in avalanche terrain or remote area, you may have a communication device. To me, that's going to stay pretty high up near the top as well. And so what I've hopefully effectively done is pack this pack in a way that it's going to carry nice and distributed throughout the pack and on my back, again in an upward linear fashion. And that's going to be really conducive to walking for long durations. So at the beginning I started by loosening all these compression straps, and now I want to go back through and tighten those down and really try to eliminate any type of dead space that I have within the pack or any type of movement of my supplies within. So I'm going to do that on both sides here. And if this pack were requiring more gear, again, that has a extendable brain, I can keep this upper section, this zipper pocket for sunglasses, maybe some sunscreen, a couple snacks, things that I would like to access relatively quickly. Again, ice axe, trekking pole loops, things that could be used based on if you needed to. And that's packpacking. If you guys have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to me via email. You can check us out on our website at theabsolutealpine.com. Thanks for watching.